So this is the book, The 4-Hour Work Week. So before we start, I just want to apologize. So I am a bit under the weather, so I'm sorry if my voice sounds a little bit weird. I am a tad bit sick right now, so I do apologize for that. Again, this is going to be just a very short review on this book. I don't have really much to say about it, but I'm basically just going to give you guys an overall recap of what the author is talking about inside of this book. Personally, I think this is a really good book, and I would suggest that you guys go and read it. So it will be linked down in the description. So if you guys are interested and you do want to pick up this book and read it for yourself, it will be linked down in the description. The first point that I'm going to make about this book is that he talks a lot about outsourcing a lot of the heavy lifting. So if you don't know what I mean by this, let's just say you're working 6 hours a day and you're making about $1,000 a week. This author heavily preaches the idea of hiring people to do all of that heavy lifting so you can free up your time and not have your time linked to money. Now, personally, I really do agree with that concept. So you could be making $50,000 a month, but if your time is linked to that money, you can never enjoy it because you're constantly going to have to work. So he basically preaches on the idea of hiring people to do all of that work throughout those hours so it frees up your time and you can go and enjoy the money and profit that you make from your business. I'm definitely going to be implementing some of the practices that he preaches in this book. So for example, I edit all of my YouTube videos. Now, editing these videos, it takes about 4 to 6 hours a day. Now, personally, I could be making so much money off of YouTube, but if I can't actually enjoy that money, then what's the point? So what I plan on doing is actually hiring people to do all of the editing for my videos in the future. So that is the first thing that I wanted to recap about this book. So again, I do heavily agree with the idea of outsourcing the work so you can free up your time and enjoy the profit that you make for your business. So the second thing that I want to recap from this book is that this author preaches the 80-20 rule a lot inside of this book. So if you don't know what the 80-20 rule is, basically what it means is that you're going to prioritize 20% of the most important tasks that you have to complete, and the other 80% you shouldn't worry about. So let's say 20% of the tasks that you have to complete are the most important tasks. So for example, let's just say that 20% of your tasks are the things that actually bring in the income to your business. That means you would want to prioritize those 20% of the tasks because they're the most important. And it also helps free up time. You see, if you're prioritizing 80% to 100% of the tasks, you're going to just end up losing more time completing things that aren't as important. So basically, you should only prioritize 20% of what is the most important thing that you need to complete inside of your business. So for example, I'm just going to use my YouTube channel. The most important thing that I have to do every day is just post a video every day, or at least try to post a video every day. I would say another thing that fits into this 20% category, at least at the time of this recording, is the fact that I have to edit my own videos. You see, it's very important that I have to edit these videos and make them look nice so people stay on them and watch them. It's actually kind of hard to think of not important tasks when it comes to running a YouTube channel. You see, doing SEO, thumbnail design, video editing, filming, they're all very important when it comes to YouTube. So I can't really think of anything in this category that would be considered the 80% when it comes to running a YouTube channel. Now, I guess you could technically say that you can outsource the thumbnail design, you can technically outsource the video editing. So I guess maybe you could put those two into the 80%, but still they are very important. So I would kind of be iffy about saying that they're not the 20% because they are still very important. But basically what he's preaching inside of the book is that you should be only prioritizing 20% of the most important tasks in your business. The other 80% you should outsource or just not even focus on because they will just waste your time. Now, the third thing this author preaches in this book is basically escaping the typical 9 to 5. So he basically talks about how you should be building a business and you should be using that business to generate income so you can escape the 9 to 5. Now, personally, since I'm huge into finance and business and how all that stuff works, I've said this multiple times in previous videos. And personally, I really don't want to be working 9 to 5 for the next 60 to 70 years. So I do heavily agree with the idea of becoming self-employed and making a lot of money through a business. So it's pretty self-explanatory. Basically, he's just saying that you should be building a business and generating income so you can basically replace your job with a business. And then once you have that business that's generating income, you should be finding ways to automate it so you're not just wasting your time in your business. So you can actually enjoy the money that you're making with your business. How many times did I just say business? I had to have just said business probably like 10 times within like 30 seconds. Now, the next point the author makes is that you should be trying to find a low-cost country to live in. Now, I think this is a really smart point, and genuinely, it is pretty genius in my opinion. So basically, let's just say you make $5,000 in the US or you make 5,000 euros in Europe. So let's say, for example, you live inside the US and you're making 5,000 a month. Now, since everything in the US is kind of expensive right now, basically what he's preaching is that you should try to move to a country where the cost of living is much lower. So for example, let's just say you're making 5,000 in the US, and let's just say you go and buy an apartment and that apartment costs you $2,000 a month. If you were to move to, let's say, Mexico and you brought that $5,000 to Mexico with you, that $5,000 is now probably going to be worth about like $20,000 to like $30,000. And the reason for this is because the cost of living is much lower inside of Mexico. Again, there's a lot of other countries that I can use for example here. But let's just say you took that $5,000 and you converted it into Mexican pesos. And let's just say the apartments there are $1,000 a month. Now, the reason for that is because the cost of living in that country is much lower, meaning you would have effectively multiplied your money. It's not that you necessarily made more money. It's just that the cost of living inside of Mexico is way cheaper than living in the United States or Europe. I genuinely think that's a genius point that this author made, and I completely agree with it. Now, personally, let's just say I made $20,000 a month. I would definitely move to another country where the cost of living is lower, because therefore I'd be able to basically save money. Like I mentioned before, that $20,000 in the US is going to burn up really quickly. But if you move to another country where the cost of living is much lower, that money isn't going to burn up as quickly. Again, I just think that's a really good point by this author, and it's genius, honestly, in my opinion. And I completely agree with that idea of moving to a lower cost country. And the last point that I'm going to go over in this book is that this author basically preaches the idea of taking mini retirements. Now, you may be thinking, what exactly do I mean by mini retirements? So basically, what he talks about is that the traditional path basically tells us that we need to wait 60 to 70 years to retire, basically save up for 60 to 70 years until you can just quit working a job. For example, he preaches the idea of working 6 months, saving up in those 6 months, and then after those 6 months, you can go take a vacation for 3 months where you're not working and you can just basically explore new hobbies, you can explore another country. And honestly, I completely agree with that idea. Honestly, working nonstop until you're 65 just to retire really just sounds kind of depressing in my honest opinion. Honestly, it does sound a lot more appealing to only work 6 months. And then after those 6 months, you can take like 3 months to 6 months off where you're just going on vacation or just exploring a new hobby. And what's cool about that is that you can basically do that every year. Where like if you're following the typical path, you're only going to get like a week or 2 weeks off just to go on vacation. And on top of that, you probably won't even have enough money to enjoy yourself. So I think that's another good point that this author makes. So I'm going to end the video off here. So if you do want to support me, make sure to leave a like and also subscribe to my YouTube channel. Also, 90% of you guys who watch my channel aren't subscribed. So if you guys could subscribe, it would really help me out. It's free and it doesn't hurt anybody. Also, I'm going to be building a $99 a month Skool community where I plan on financially educating people and also just connecting with this YouTube community as a whole. I believe that the school system failed to teach us basic financial literacy, and honestly, it's a problem that I want to solve inside of this Skool community. So if you are interested in checking out my Skool community, that will also be linked down in the description. Now, if you want to follow me on social media, my handles will be right on the top left of this video. So if you want to follow me on Instagram and TikTok, those will also be linked down below. But yeah, that is pretty much it. I hope you guys did enjoy the video. I will see you all in the next video. Bye-bye.